welcome back. I'm Dr. Terry Egan, and today I want to take a few minutes to talk about the difference between co-parenting and parallel parenting. So as many of you know, one of my areas of expertise is to work with parents who are going through a separation or divorce and just figuring out ways that they can navigate that so that their kids are healthy and well-adjusted. So first, I want to take a minute and talk about co-parenting. So co-parenting is when we have parents who are not together in any kind of romantic way, but they've decided to raise their kids together and collaborate. So these are parents who really work to be good communicators and make sure that the conflict stays low for the children's sake. So this doesn't necessarily mean that there isn't conflict, because raising kids is stressful and there's going to be conflict sometimes. But it's that they make a decision to work together and not have that conflict interfere with the child's relationship with either parent. So oftentimes in these scenarios, kids are spending time at both parents' house, sharing custody. And the parents are really like in a space where they're honoring that child's relationship with the other parent, even if the parenting strategies that the other parent uses isn't completely in agreement. So this is, if you're going to go through a separation or divorce, kind of the more ideal situation where you have just a really child-friendly, child-focused relationship, and you're able to manage conflict, and the conflict that the kids are exposed to is minimal or hopefully not at all. Oftentimes, co-parenting is a type of parenting that is difficult for parents to get to in a comfortable way until they've been separated or divorced for a while. And in the initial separation or divorce, sometimes there's some really big feelings, maybe feelings of resentment, just the growing pains that come from separating and forming two separate households. So I want to take a minute and talk about parallel parenting, which is the alternative to co-parenting. So less ideal, but still can be a really good choice for some families, especially when parents are more high conflict. So with parallel parenting, there might be a lot of discord between parents, but there isn't really justification from the court system, if they've even gone in that direction, that one parent is necessarily going to have a really limited interaction with the kids. So these are parents who are both invested in the kids' childhood and raising them, but the conflict with their co-parent is so high that they need to keep a distance. So oftentimes these parents do minimal communication. They do not collaborate on sort of the rules at each house. Oftentimes their communication, if they have any, is just in writing, whether it's texting or emailing. In person, they rarely interact. They're the parents who don't sit near each other at the kids' swim meet, maybe don't greet each other or say hello, don't acknowledge the other person's family members or their new spouse or partner. They just really keep their worlds separate. And even though this is not ideal, the goal behind it is to keep the conflict low. So for some parents, this is the right choice for their family. Once again, sometimes parents will go through a stage where parallel parenting is the most appropriate. And then as time goes by and new routines are established and parents have, just started to form a life that's separate from that marriage, the tensions can ease and they can be better communicators. Now, some things to consider. If you're able to have a healthy co-parenting relationship, there's some benefits for the kids. One of the things is that kids get to see how parents engage in conflict resolution. So if they see that parents maybe have a disagreement, but they eventually come around and are able to settle it and get to a place of peace and harmony, then that's really wonderful role modeling for kids. We also see that when kids are not put in a situation where there's conflict, they don't feel the inclination to choose one parent over another or to do what's called parentification, which means that the child ends up being put in the role where they're managing the parent's interactions or feelings, where they're sort of acting like the parent and they're in that role of having to be the adult. We definitely want to avoid that. So if that means having a parallel parenting relationship so kids can avoid having that role, then that's a really important thing to do. And once again, with the co-parenting relationship, kids get to really honor each of their separate relationships with each parent. And that is a good space for kids to be in. It's healthier. So they're more likely to manage conflict. They're more likely to avoid having sort of an unhealthy role in managing conflict. They honor their relationship with each parent. And so overall, if this is done well, they do generally end up better adjusted. In a parallel parenting situation, kids benefit from having low conflict, but they don't get to see healthy conflict resolution. There's still a certain degree of tension, and they can end up feeling like, gosh, I really can't mention mom around dad or dad around mom. And that's just a stressful place to be. So hopefully we can avoid that. I do want to just say to those of you out there who are listening to this video, if you feel like you're in a situation where you're having a hard time navigating the type of co-parenting that's appropriate for your family, I really do encourage you to reach out to a third party. It could be a therapist, a parenting coach, somebody who has a degree of experience and training in working with parents who are having a lot of conflict, especially if your kids are struggling in some way, which chances are, if you have a high conflict relationship, they are struggling in some way. But when I say struggling, I mean things like showing signs of anxiety. Maybe they're struggling in school. Maybe they're struggling when it comes to making friends. Maybe they're disrespectful or disobedient at home, or you have a hard time getting through your routines. If you're seeing those types of things, it's going to be really important to work as positively with your co-parent as possible. And sometimes that just means lowering the conflict and stepping away, and that's fine. But reach out to somebody. If you're interested in learning more about my services, please visit my website, www.drterryegan.com. Thanks so much for tuning in. Have a good day.